I'm 24 years old and this is my $419,000 investment portfolio. Before you go there, no, I wasn't born rich. Growing up with immigrant parents, money was always this taboo topic. They never really taught me anything about money, let alone investing. And I really just started off with just a couple $100s to my name, and I probably made almost every single mistake that you can imagine. Some were just small beginner mistakes and some costed me thousands of dollars. But taking that leap of faith and making all those mistakes taught me everything. So I'm not here to play teacher or pretend like I have all the answers. I'm just showing you what I've done and what I've learned along the way. Hopefully it can help you along your investing journey. So here are the 5 biggest investing lessons that changed everything for me. It's riskier not to invest. Sure, you may lose some money investing, but you're guaranteed to lose if you don't. Growing up, I watched my immigrant family work their asses off, stuffing cash underneath the mattress because they felt that investing was gambling for rich people. And honestly, I inherited that fear. I was terrified that I'd lose everything if I touched the stock market. My aunts would literally say that's how people go broke whenever investing came onto the TV. But here's what messed me up. I realized that they were going broke anyways. Every year, that cash underneath the mattress bought less groceries, less gas, less everything. With inflation running at around 2.8%, here's what most people don't realize. If your money is just sitting in a regular checkings account, you're already slowly bleeding out. Every single day, that money that you have in that account buys a little less things. And I get why they chose to save it that way. I understand that it's a little scary to invest. Saving alone is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Most people aren't even putting money in a high-yield savings account. Hell, my checkings account pays 0.01% while inflation is eating around 3% every single year. Now, that's not saving. That's voluntarily going broke slowly. And the brutal math that no one really wants to talk about is that at 2.8%, your money pretty much loses half of its power, half of its value every 25 years. But I get it. Who wants to think that far ahead? So let's just do it real quick. That $1,000 that you're, saving today, in just 10 years, it will only buy what $758 would buy now. And I learned this the hard way when I realized that my emergency fund from 3 years ago couldn't really cover the same emergency today. And that's when it clicked for me. Playing it safe is playing myself. Now let's go back in time, around 10 years, and order a McDonald's quarter pounder. Back then, that meal would have cost you around $5.39, and this would give you a burger, medium fries, and a drink. But today, that same exact meal would cost you around $11.99 without taxes. That's a 122% increase. The prices aren't just magically increasing. The value of your dollar is going down. And this is what inflation looks like. And the wild part is it never really stops. It may slow down a little bit, but it never truly reverses. So your money is losing purchasing power every single day, every single year, 24/7, no days off. It's not just fast food. Cars, rent, groceries, education, everything is getting a little more expensive because your dollar is constantly becoming worth less. And that's why if your money isn't actively working for you, going up in value, you're actively losing money. And that's where investing comes in. When you invest, your money is working for you and actually growing in value, fighting against inflation. And so unlike cash just sitting in your bank account, chilling in your checkings, losing value, losing purchasing power, that invested money is actually working towards you and increasing in value. For example, let's say you bought $100 worth of Apple stock in 2015. Today, your share would be worth this much. That growth didn't just, beat inflation by 3% every single year. It crushed it and multiplied your money. This made me realize how important putting your money to work and investing really is, because if you're not investing, you're literally going broke slowly. Number 2, you don't need to be rich to invest. It's how you get rich. Back then, even though I knew that my money was losing value because of inflation, it was still hard for me to start. I was broke with only a couple $100s in my name. Plus, growing up how I did, we viewed money as a taboo topic and kind of like the root of all evil. We never talked about building wealth or anything about financial literacy, so everything kind of just sounded like a new language to me. So whenever investing came up, I kept thinking, what's the point? An 8% gain on $100 is, $8, barely enough to buy lunch. This wouldn't even make a difference. And I was stuck. But it turns out I had it backwards. Investing isn't just for the rich, it's how you get rich, and it's better to start off when you're broke. When I first started investing, it was just a couple $100, anything I could really afford or scrounge up, and I thought it was just gonna hold me back. But it was really, in reality, the best thing that could have ever happened to me, or I could have done for a few reasons. First, starting small when I was broke let me learn through failure without destroying my future and losing a bunch of money. When I first started, I knew absolutely nothing. My very first investment was cannabis stocks, and I threw in $100 at the time. That was like all that I had, and I was convinced that I found my ticket to wealth. I thought I was gonna hit it big, but that stock ended up crashing around 99% and I lost everything. But here's the thing, because I started broke when I didn't have enough money and only risked $100, even though I lost 100%, of that money, I only lost $100, meaning that valuable investing lesson was really dirt cheap. Of course, that $100 felt like $1,000,000 to me at the time, but looking back, that was probably the best $100 I've ever spent. If I waited until I had a real money to invest and made that same mistake with, let's say, $10,000, that's a lot more money and a lot more loss. Second, it forced me to really level up my entire financial life and rearrange my priorities. When you only have a couple $100 to your name and you want to invest, you can't really afford just throwing your money around buying whatever you want. I had to get really specific and surgical with my budget. I started tracking every single dollar. I cut out stupid spending like door dashing every single day, and I really researched and hunted for more ways on how to save money and how to make money. This pressure to find money in order to invest led me to start side hustles that literally became my six-figure business. And if I'd waited until I was ready or had enough money, I'd still be waiting. And I wouldn't be in this position with this portfolio today. And here's what nobody tells you. Starting early on when you're broke lets you fail fast, learn faster without risking, real money. While all my friends were waiting for the perfect moment or until they had money, I was already 50 mistakes deep and actually building my portfolio and finally investing. Being broke wasn't my weakness. It was actually the best thing that could have ever happened to me, and it killed every single excuse and forced me to start. Retirement is just a number, not an age. You can retire early if you have enough money. Now, because I started investing so early, I can actually retire early too, which I didn't really even know that was possible. I used to think that 65 years old was just this magic retirement number where the government would allow you to not work and do whatever you want. But turns out retirement isn't about an age, it's about a number. The earlier that you hit that number, the sooner you can be financially free. Basically, if your money can out-earn your lifestyle while you sleep, while you're going on vacation, while you're doing nothing, congrats, you're financially free. And that's, truly the goal. The 4% rule says this: you can retire when 4% of your portfolio can cover your yearly expenses. So if you want to spend $60,000 a year when you're retired, you need around $1.5 million invested. If you want $120,000 like me, you need around $3 million. Now I know that number seems so crazy and so far-fetched. I get it. It's just a long-term goal that we're working slowly towards. And here's where I'm at today. I have around $400,000 invested, and I add around $5,000 to $7,000 every single month. Using this calculator, I'll hit my 3 million target around this age. And this means I'm retiring, years, decades before my parents and usually people ever could. Investing is more about controlling your emotions than anything else. That's why I try to be as consistent as possible. I want to retire as early as possible, or at least have the option to. I know the basics: think long-term, buy and hold, don't panic sell. But I can't tell you how many times I saw my portfolio drop after some bad news and panic sold everything. It's really hard watching yourself lose money, especially if you worked so hard for it. And honestly, it's even harder to put that money aside into investments in the first place. Instead of keeping comfortably in the bank account, not really risking anything, or spending it on something that you can actually enjoy right now. And that's when I realized that investing isn't just about what you know, because I knew what I should be doing. But I kept losing control because of my emotions. The psychology of investing is everything. The news, FOMO, seeing everyone else panic or get rich quick, it all messes with your head. You always see headlines like market's gonna crash X%, or you have friends telling you about some meme coin that went up 500%, and suddenly all your logic and long-term thinking just goes out the window. And even before all that market drama, there's this mental battle of just setting aside money to invest in the first place. It's emotionally draining just to watch thousands of dollars leave your checking account for some abstract future benefit when you can use that money right now for, a vacation, a new car, or just have it there so you can just look at it. Your monkey brain is constantly telling you buy this, buy that, and it really doesn't help when corporations spend trillions of dollars in marketing to try to get you to buy their product or subscribe to whatever this is. And that's why it's easier said than done, because it's hard to stay consistent, especially when the market goes up and down. It's hard to keep putting money in when you see everyone else buying new things and going on those expensive trips. And you might even be tempted to throw that money at that new hot stock or crypto that promises you to get rich overnight. And before that, you're fighting the temptation to spend instead of investing in the first place. When I understood this, that my emotions were my biggest enemy at every step, I had to really think, what can I do to make this easier? How can I build a system to take my emotions out of the equation? And that's when I realized the best thing that I could do for myself is to simplify everything. I realized that investing doesn't need to be as complicated as I'm making it out to be. So I built a system that runs in the background without me having to think about it. For the first 3 to 4 years, I mainly invested into low-cost index funds and ETFs like VOO, which is Vanguard's S&P 500 index fund that tracks the 500 largest companies in the US stock exchange. I did this because I didn't want to have to do any research or pick individual stock and try to time the market. I just want to have something where I can just put all my money in and be okay with it. And in addition to that, I also automated every single investment. Every single week when money hit my bank account, a portion of that automatically goes into the stock market, whether I like it or not. I don't have to press a button, I didn't have to lift a finger, it just does it automatically. And I did this because, again, I don't want to have to watch the stock market all the time or follow the news. I don't want to have to do that. It's so stressful. So I just want something where I can just run in the background and stay consistent, and I know that my money's working for me. This really helped me stay consistent even when the world was going crazy with the pandemic, wars, recession, and even the tariff drama that happened last April. It also really helped me tailor my budget to prioritize investing, because to me, investing was like a bill. No matter what, whether I liked it or not, if I had the money or not, that money was coming out of my account. So I had to really figure out and rise to the occasion in order to meet that goal. I was never taught any of this growing up. I had to learn all these lessons the hard way. And the mission with this channel is to be the mentor that I wish I had and show you all the mistakes and everything that I've learned along the way. So if you have any lessons yourself that you want to share, please leave a comment down below. We can all learn from each other. Till next time.